Today, we're talking about something that's gonna ruffle some feathers, the 10 most dangerous states in America. Now, before you type, my state isn't dangerous in the comments, hear me out. I'm looking at actual crime statistics, violent crime rates, property crime, and some state-specific issues that make certain places a bit more spicy than others. I've driven through most of these states, and let me tell you, there's a difference between dangerous and has one sketchy gas station off I-40. We're talking about places where you actually need to keep your head on a swivel. So grab your snacks, hit that like button, and let's dive into America's most dangerous states. And yes, I'm ready for the hate comments. Starting off at number 10, we've got South Carolina. Now I know what you're thinking, but the beaches, the sweet tea. Yeah, it's got its charm, but it also has some serious crime issues. South Carolina has a violent crime rate of around 531 per 100,000, which is well above the national average of about 380. The state sees approximately 25,000 violent crimes annually, with aggravated assault being the most common. The danger here isn't evenly spread. You've got beautiful Charleston on one end, and then you have some seriously rough areas in the cities like North Charleston, Orangeburg, and Dillon. Myrtle Beach, despite being a tourist hotspot, has a violent crime rate that's almost double the national average. I went there for a bachelor party in my late 20s, and let me tell you, after 10 p.m., it's like the Wild Wild West, only with more airbrushed t-shirts. The coastal areas have issues with gang activity, while the rural areas struggle with opioid traffic along I-95. Myrtle Beach's tourist season brings opportunistic crime. South Carolina has more than 350 species of birds, which is cool, but I'm more concerned about those vultures circling that abandoned gas station outside of Florence. Coming in at number 9 is Arkansas. The natural state has some unnatural crime problems. Arkansas posts a violent crime rate of about 673 per 100,000 people, almost double the national average. Property crime is even worse, which rates around 3,000 per 100,000 residents. Little Rock is the epicenter of Arkansas's crime problem. The capital city has one of the highest violent crime rates in the nation. I drove through Little Rock once at 2 a.m. trying to make it to Memphis. Worst decision ever. Every gas station looked like it's the setting of a horror movie. Little Rock's southwest area has significant gang presence, including local sets and national affiliations. The state has serious issues with meth production and distribution in some rural areas. Pine Bluff consistently ranks as one of the most dangerous cities in America. Highway 65 corridor has become a trafficking route. Arkansas is the only state in America where you can dig for diamonds and keep what you find at Crater of Diamonds State Park. Though honestly, in some neighborhoods, you're more likely to find a gun shell casing than a diamond. Tennessee takes the number 8 spot, and it pains me to say it because I love a Nashville hot chicken sandwich, but the numbers don't lie. Tennessee has a violent crime rate of approximately 673 per 100,000 residents. Memphis alone accounts for a huge chunk of that, with rates over 2,000 per 100,000 in some years, one of the highest in the nation. Memphis is basically carrying Tennessee on its back when it comes to crime statistics. The city has struggled with gang violence, property crime, and aggravated assault for decades. But it's not just Memphis. Chattanooga and parts of Nashville have their own issues. Memphis has a significant gang presence, including the Gangster Disciples, the Vice Lords, and the Crips. Areas like Orangemund, Frazier, and Whitehaven in Memphis have particularly high crime rates. Nashville's growth has brought in increased property crime. The state sits on major trafficking routes between the Gulf and the Midwest. Tennessee has more than 10,000 caves, which is impressive until you realize that some of them have been used for everything from moonshine production to, well, let's just say law enforcement stays busy. I saw Beale Street in Memphis on a Friday night and it was great. Live music, amazing food, but 3 blocks in any direction, completely different vibe. So be safe and know where you're going. Oklahoma lands at number 7, proving that the wind doesn't just come sweeping down the plains, crime does too. Oklahoma has a violent crime rate of about 460 per 100,000, but where it really quote unquote shines is property crime at about 2,800 per 100,000 residents. Tulsa and Oklahoma City drive most of these statistics. Oklahoma has a perfect storm of issues: poverty, drug trafficking routes, and gang activity. Oklahoma City and Tulsa both have areas where you really don't want to break down. Heavy meth and opioid problems, particularly in rural areas. Gang presence in OKC includes the Bloods, the Crips, and some local sets. Tulsa's north side has historically high crime rates, and the state has one of the highest incarceration rates in the world. Not just America, the world. Oklahoma has more man-made lakes than any other state, over 200. Perfect for hiding bodies, apparently. No, I'm kidding. It's actually great for fishing. The crime is real, but so is the bass fishing. Sweet Home, Alabama comes in at number 6. And while the state has a lot going on for it, crime isn't one of those things. Alabama has a violent crime rate of approximately 454 per 100,000 people, with Birmingham and Mobile contributing heavily to those numbers. The state sees around 23,000 violent crimes per year. Birmingham has been struggling with crime for years, particularly gun violence. Mobile has serious issues with gang activity and drug trafficking coming up from the Gulf. I stopped in Birmingham for a barbecue once. The food was great, but the guy at the restaurant told me which streets to avoid, and there were a lot of them. Birmingham's violent crime rate is roughly 3 times the national average. Inslee, Pratt City, and North Birmingham are particularly dangerous. Mobile has issues with Gulf Coast trafficking, and rural areas struggle with poverty and limited law enforcement resources. Alabama has the longest navigable inland waterway in the nation at 1,500 miles. Unfortunately, those waterways also facilitate smuggling. Can't win them all. Plot twist. South Dakota at number 5 surprises a lot of people. Mount Rushmore and the Badlands? Sure. But also some serious crime issues. South Dakota has a violent crime rate of around 501 per 100,000, which might not sound extreme, but when you consider the population size and specific locations, it tells a darker story. The danger in South Dakota is concentrated in a very specific area, particularly in Native American reservations, where poverty, lack of resources, and isolation creates dangerous conditions. Rapid City has crime rates significantly higher than the state's average. Pine Ridge Reservation has been called one of the most dangerous places in America. Extreme poverty in reservation areas. Some areas have poverty rates of over 50%. Limited law enforcement resources across vast rural areas. And Rapid City sees significant property crime and violent crime. The state has serious issues with missing and murdered indigenous women. South Dakota has more shoreline than Florida thanks to all its lakes and reservoirs. It's beautiful country, but some areas face challenges that don't make it onto the tourism brochures. Alaska comes in at number 4. And before you say, but there's nobody there. Exactly. That's part of the problem. Alaska has a violent crime rate of approximately 724 per 100,000 residents, more than double the national average. The state also has the highest rate of sexual assault in the nation. Alaska's danger comes from isolation, harsh conditions, and limited law enforcement coverage. When you're 300 miles away from the nearest police station, criminals know that they have time. Anchorage accounts for a large portion of this crime, but rural areas face their own unique dangers. The neighborhoods of Mountain View and Fairview in Anchorage have high crime rates, and extreme isolation in rural areas means that help can be hours or days away. The state has the highest rate of sexual violence against women, especially indigenous women. Limited roads and vast wilderness make pursuit and investigation difficult. Substance abuse issues is compounded by isolation and dark winters. Alaska has more than 3 million lakes. It also has more serial killers per capita than any other state historically. Those long, dark winters just do something to people, I guess. The Show Me State shows up at number 3. And honestly, Kansas City and St. Louis are largely responsible for this ranking. Missouri has a violent crime rate of around 543 per 100,000, but this is deceptive. St. Louis consistently ranks as one of the most dangerous cities in America, with rates exceeding 2,000 per 100,000 in recent years. St. Louis and Kansas City are crime hotspots. I've been to both cities multiple times. Great food, cool history, but you need to know which neighborhoods to avoid. East St. Louis is right across the river, which is technically Illinois, but it shares the same crime ecosystem. St. Louis areas like North St. Louis County, Jeff Vanderloo, and Old North St. Louis have extreme violent crime rates. Kansas City's east side struggles with gang violence, and Springfield has growing meth problems. Missouri is the only state with two Federal Reserve banks, Kansas City and St. Louis. It's also one of the few states where you can go find both Southern and Midwestern culture, and apparently a lot of crime from both regions too. Louisiana takes the silver medal, or should I say lead medal, in dangerous states. The Pelican State has serious crime problems. Louisiana has the second highest violent crime rate in America at approximately 639 per 100,000 residents. New Orleans and Baton Rouge are major contributors, with murder rates among the highest in the nation. Louisiana has a toxic combination of poverty, gang activity, drug trafficking, and systemic issues. New Orleans is an incredible city. I've been to Mardi Gras, Jazz Fest, you name it. But beyond the French Quarter, there's neighborhoods where crime is just a part of daily life. New Orleans areas like Lower Ninth Ward, Central City, and Algiers have high crime rates and significant gang presence. Baton Rouge's north side has serious violent crime issues. The state has the highest murder rate in the country in many recent years. Systemic poverty and limited opportunities also fuel crime cycles. Louisiana is the only state with parishes instead of counties, a holdover from French and Spanish colonial rule. It's also the birthplace of jazz, but it consistently ranks in the top 3 for murder rates. I love New Orleans, the food, the music, the culture. It's unlike anywhere else in America, but you've got to be street smart. Don't flash cash, know where you're going, and maybe skip the late night shortcut through the unfamiliar neighborhood. And here we are, the most dangerous state in America. New Mexico. Land of enchantment? More like the land of lock your car doors. New Mexico has the highest violent crime rate in the nation at approximately 782 per 100,000 residents. Property crime is also through the roof at over 3,500 per 100,000. Albuquerque is a major driver of these statistics. New Mexico has a perfect storm of poverty, drug trafficking corridors from Mexico, gang activity, and vast rural areas with limited law enforcement. Albuquerque's crime rate is staggering. I was there at a work conference, and our hotel told us don't leave anything visible in your cars. Not lock your car doors. They meant don't leave anything visible. Albuquerque's International District, Southeast Heights, and parts of South Valley have extreme crime rates. Major trafficking route from Mexico brings drugs and associated violence. Gang presence includes Sureños, Norteños, Bloods, Crips, and local sets like the Sindicato de Nuevo Mexico. High rates of both violent crime and property crime across the state. Gallup has been called one of the drunkest cities in America with the associated crime issues. New Mexico has more PhDs per capita than any other state. Lots of scientists at Los Alamos and Sandia National Labs. So you've got rocket scientists and rampant car theft. What a combo. Yeah, Breaking Bad was set up here for a reason. The show might have dramatized things, but the underlying issues with drugs and crime, pretty accurate. Just with fewer explosions and more catalytic converter thefts. Now, here's the important part. Every single one of these states has amazing people, beautiful places, and incredible culture. Crime stats don't define everyone who lives there, but the numbers don't lie. And if you're planning to visit or move to any one of these states, just be aware, do your research on neighborhoods, keep your wits about you, and for the love of God, don't leave your laptop visible on your passenger seat in Albuquerque. If you live in one of these states and you're down in the comments yelling at me, I get it. These are your homes, and nobody likes hearing their state get dragged. But hey, awareness is the first step to change, right? All right, there you have it, the 10 most dangerous states in America according to the latest crime statistics. So what state do you think got robbed from this list? Drop a comment below, smash that like button, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe out there, people.